All right, we got a lot to do, and tonight, a 6 o'clock for your local, or for all of you listening locally, easy for me to say, a 6 o'clock pregame show as we are hoping here to close out the Washington Capitals in 5 games. Grant Paulsen, Grant and Danny, 106.7 The Fan, in our nation's capital, who joined us at the start of the series, and then I joined them. His trash talk was better than my trash talk. How are you, sir?
Well, your play has been better than my play, so I would trade you at this point. The trash talk for the 3-1 lead. By the way, we got to learn. Our producer Max is out here grinding. We got to learn his name, Adam.
I'm bad.
The guy's working for you.
Yeah.
He's making moves.
He is
moving and shaking. What are we doing here?
He absolutely is, and there's a lot he has to deal with. He is in many ways Jacob Slavin having to play with Brent Burns. Just not 100% sure where Brent's going to be. So, yeah, I'm putting a lot of pressure on Max. I should at least get his last name right. That is absolutely that's an own goal on my part. All right, so where's your level of confidence that Washington pushes this to Game 6?
It's the Capitals in the playoffs, so there's just so many ghosts that they could be up 3-1 or 3-0, and I don't know that I would have confidence, right? But I think they're going to come out and play a really good game tonight. All year long, this team, which was not supposed to have been any good and was not supposed to have been in the running for the Metro, let alone the number one team in the East and the number one seed, all those things, all they've ever done is answered the bell, right, every step of the way. So I think they're going to play well. My wife today was asking me, she's like, do you think they win tonight? And I'm like, it's hockey in the playoffs. I have no idea. They could dominate them for 60 minutes and lose in overtime. Nothing makes sense. You guys saw that in Game 1, right?
Yep.
You carry the play, and what does that get you other than a $5 to spend on donuts the next day if you lose the hockey game? So what I think from a process standpoint is that they'll be better. I think they'll play hard. They got a pot of gold. The first couple of games, I didn't think Frederik Andersen was all that impressive. I thought in Raleigh he was unbelievable, and specifically in the first period of Game 3 when the Caps may have played their best period of this series to this point and had nothing to show for it. So, when they come out flying like they did in Games 3 and 4, if that happens, and they're up 5-1 with a post or whatever it is in shots, you need to get something. And Protas, instead of hitting a post, you got to go up 1-0 in enemy territory. So they need something like that to go well. I think they need to play from out in front. Just knowing this crowd like I do, Adam, if they go down in this game, all of a sudden the nervous energy leads to it not being as loud and energetic as it needs to be because people have watched the movie before. So I think they've got to start fast. I think they got to find a way to score a first period goal and get a lead.
Grant Paulsen from 106.7 The Fan in Washington, D.C. is joining us here. So you mentioned Game 1. Game 1 and Game 3 are, I think, incredibly telling for maybe why Carolina's where they are and maybe why this series is what it is. Because Washington was way second best in the first period in Game 1. That was probably the most dominant. If you asked Rod Brindamore, would you like that first period again, even with no goals, he'd take it because it was that dominant. And you guys got the first goal. Protas scores the first goal in transition, beating Anderson just like between the pad and the blocker. That makes it 1-0. And Carolina, I thought, went back to playing great again and had nothing to show for it until the turnover, which I guess was Protas, and the Stankoven goal that tied it. And then in overtime, it was the net front that, the screen that beats Logan Thompson low. Maybe not a great goal, but it was it was just so many bodies in between Slavin's shot and the net. So Carolina, they didn't steal it because I think they played well enough to win, but they could have easily lost that game. And I thought Game 3, you guys were awesome for 30 minutes and had nothing to show for it. And then the Svechnikov goal, I thought took the sails out of you guys.
Yeah, the Game 3 lopsided 2 games was pretty staggering, in my opinion, right? Because I thought, again, the first period is probably the best period the Caps have played. They maybe have played a couple better stretches, but I don't think they played a better 20 minutes. And then I thought the early part of the second period, it kind of carried over.
Yep.
My thought going intermission was, oh, no, they should be up at least 2-0. Maybe you get lucky and you score a third. I mean, they had the early second period opportunities and Fleury in front of the cage as well. Couldn't get anything. You got Bavillier missing a wide open net easily. So some of it's like Anderson being outstanding.
Yep.
I thought a couple pucks bounce, roll. Ovechkin had a couple of net front opportunities with time and space and had nothing to show for it. And then there's also some excellent saves along the way. So it's like, all right, you think you should be up. Worst case, 1-0, probably 2-0. If you got a little good fortune, 3-0, whatever it is, 3-1. And instead, it's zippy, and it felt like a loss in that way. But they still came out and did what I kind of wanted them to do in the second period.
Yeah.
And then everything shifted, 6, 7, whatever it is, 8 minutes in. And I thought from that moment until the end of the game, Carolina dominated them.
Yeah.
Like in every way, in every facet. It looked like game one, honestly, almost. It was that lopsided and that bad. So that game is kind of the game you split in half, I suppose.
Yep.
But yeah, game 4 to me, they needed to come out flying, and they did. They made a couple of adjustments in their top 6, moving Protas and Wilson around. And it seemed like, to me, that they knew you can't lose this game, because if you go down 3-1, it just feels inevitable. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. And I thought they responded well. And then in the third period, they got within a goal a couple of times, and that's really all you need to do. You pull 6 on 5 and see what happens. But they just couldn't finish it off. So the fact is, and what we've been talking about here, is Carolina's been the better team. I mean, Washington does not deserve to be 2-2 probably right now. It'd be nice if you could have stolen one, whether that was game 1 or something else. Didn't happen. You are where you should be, and they got work to do.
Grant Paulsen, Grant and Danny in Washington, D.C. on 106.7. The Fan is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. What adjustments further beyond the ones he already made is Spencer Carberry making for game number 5 tonight?
So, Adam, you're going to see a really different structural look in the bottom 6. So Lars Eller, who's a 2018 Stanley Cup hero around these parts, who's left and come back and just doesn't have a lot left. Can't finish, can't score, doesn't really give them much offensively, and has been their weak link throughout the second half of the season and into the playoffs. They've been reticent that they're not going to park him. They don't have another center option. They thought about getting one at the deadline, didn't do it. So they could move Connor McMichael off the wing, who's been one of their better wings in the playoffs, and that's his best position in the league. He's a traditional center coming up, to the third-line center, and they've just kept saying, we're not doing it, we're not doing it. They think Eller's better defensively. They think he's better in defensive zone draws. The problem is the Eller line can't get the puck out anyway. I mean, it's also been the line, where they've, I think, been most dominated. Like, the games have swung, as far as momentum goes, on these shifts where that Eller line just can't get the puck out. They're in a period or in a sequence been better for 7-8 minutes, and then Carolina hems them in and buzzes for 45 seconds to 90 seconds, and the arena's back alive. So if that line's not doing anything defensively, then what is it that you'd say you do here, office space style? So what they're going to do is they're going to move McMichael off the wing to center. Eller's parked. He's out. A little bit of a panic move, but it's panic time.
Yeah.
They kept saying, we're not doing it, we're not doing it. Well, now you're about to get eliminated. So either do it or you're talking tomorrow morning about next season. So I like that because they're going to give Ryan Leonard a chance to skate with someone with some speed and skill. Leonard, who, the point I've been making on air locally is if he's not helping you offensively, there's not a whole lot right now he's going to do. He's going to be a great player eventually. But Eller's been dragging him down like a cinder block. So having some speed to skate with, McMichael on that line with Mangiapane and with Ryan Leonard, the third line, is going to give them their fastest line that they've had as a team all postseason. So I think that'll be interesting to see. They're very small, though. All three of those guys are not big. They're probably 5'9"-ish.
Right.
So it'll be a smaller, faster line. And then they'll have the biggest line they've had all year as well, because they're going to move Protas to the second line with Tom Wilson and Pierre-Luc Dubois, like three guys that are skaters, really good skaters, power forwards, kind of cut from the same cloth. So that's a pretty nasty line. I'm sure with last change, they'll try to pair against Aho as often as possible. And that line tonight. And then the question is, what can they get out of Ovechkin, who's been library quiet for the most part, and Dylan Strome, who had 9 points in the first round in 5 games against Montreal, point-per-game player this year, 82-point player, who's got 1 point in these 4 games to this point, and that's their top line. They got to figure something out there. Anthony Beauvillier is going to move up to skate with them. They'll put their fourth line that's been traditional all year back together, which is Dowd centering Duhaime and Radish. So that's a pretty sizable shift. I mean, they're not going to go down just with the same rotation. They're making a pretty obvious Hail Mary here, and we'll see what he gets them.
Grant Paulsen, 106.7 The Fan in Washington, D.C. at Grant Paulsen on Twitter. Grant H. Paulsen. You stuck an H in there in the middle of it. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. And I will do better with Max.
Why, really quickly. I'll tell you why.
Why?
I know you've probably got better things to do.
That's fine.
There was a guy who took the name Grant Paulsen on Twitter, and he tweeted one time in like 2011, and he tweeted he couldn't wait to watch the Glenn Beck show. And then he never tweeted again and hasn't been on Twitter since. And so, like, in 2013, when I was, like, starting to build a little bit of a following on Twitter, I'm like, can I get this Twitter account from this Glenn Beck fan, like, who doesn't tweet? And Twitter was like, you absolutely cannot. And so I said, okay, that's where we are. So I'm not like a Jonathan Taylor Thomas guy who loves my middle initial.
Right.
I'm just a guy who didn't tweet about Glenn Beck first. That's what I am.
You didn't have a number you can put on the end, or an underscore you could have used?
I hate the underscore. I think the underscore is aesthetically awful. Middle initial over underscore. Number, I might have gone back to the well there. If I could go back and do it again, maybe I would have mixed in a number. But the underscore to me, I'm not an underscore guy.
I understood. Grant Paulsen, 106.7 The Fan in D.C. Hey, thank you very much. I'd wish you luck tonight, but I want Saturday off. So I'm not wishing you good luck, but I thank you for your time.
I understand. I just need more hockey in this town. So, Saturday we can reconvene, but just give us this one and let's make this thing a little more interesting.
We got room on the bandwagon here, sir.
No, that won't be happening.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I understand. I'll talk to you soon, man. Take care.